Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick, and we've got a Week 2 mailbag. We're going to talk about Daniel Jones, Malik Neighbors, the Giants' offensive line, some good O-line talk, some negative defense talk. Justin, we're going to do a lot of talking. How are you?
That's what we do on the show. We yap, we talk, we bring the boom. Told you I was going to do it once every episode.
I gave you an in later in the episode. I thought you'd wait.
Damn it, I didn't wait.
All right, Justin. We've got some good questions.
Love the Costco guys
on this episode, so we're gonna get right into it. We're not gonna waste any time. First episode was brought to you by some special people. We got John Saroff. He ain't on. He's off. We got Sai Mulapudi. He has joined the elusive family tier.
Whoa! Hello.
That tier is nuts.
Thank you.
I think Sai's a little nuts, but I appreciate you, Sai. We got Judd McJunkin. He's got some McJunkin in his trunkin. Mike K, Mike Krzyzewski, Zachary Thompson.
Michael K.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Zachary. You have the most boring name on today's episode. Just Zachary Thompson. Peter Medved. He's not happy Ved. He's Medved. Tamor Bhatti. I'm not gonna make the joke that comes to my mind when I hear Bhatti. Lewis the cat, he's a dog. Rocky B, our teacher's name was Rocky. We used to, he got mad because I was like, I like the name Rocky. He's like, you call me Mr. Jones. And then anytime we had to draw something, I would figure out a way to and get like, I did a sculpture of Rocky Balboa, so I could just be in class, be like, Rocky, and he really hated me. Tim Reitman, he's not the wrong man, and I said him before. Justin, who are these people?
These wonderful people went to patreon.com/talkinggiants. That's a lot of people, so thank you very much. Join the Patreon family where you can watch us live while we record the shows. That's what Patreon's doing right now. Bobby Skinner will send you some stickers in the mail, plus there's some shirt raffles a couple times a month. Patreon.com/talkinggiants. Thanks to our patrons. We appreciate you.
Take it away, Steve.
Mail time.
The mail's here. Come on. Here's the mail. It never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail.
Thanks, Steve from Blues Clues. Justin, let's get into the mail.
Oh, let's get into the mail. The first question is coming from Doug Analytics.
I have a question first. Is this our first ever mailbag in person?
Yes. I don't even think we've had an off-season one together.
No, we've done plenty of off-season.
No, I'm talking about together.
Like off-season mailbag?
But like in the same room.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We've done off-season episodes together, Justin.
No, I'm talking about off-season mailbags.
Oh yeah, I think this is our first ever mailbag in the same room. How about that?
So that's Bobby Skinner _. Is this our first ever mailbag in person? What's the answer?
Yes. Next question.
Next question. Doug Analytics, Doug_Analytics, that was easy. Has the offensive line found its identity? How has the performance and scheme under Carmen Porcello measured up to your expectations so far, Bobby Skinner?
Well, great question by Doug. He really teed it up, and I'm actually going to use some stuff from Doug where he pulled up some stats that confirmed what I was, posting about and clipping up from the game for the Giants' run game. But I haven't just been impressed with the Giants' offensive line ever since I've been doing this, right? And since before we've been doing this shit, like I was really, really impressed with them in multiple ways. And it's not just like, we got all-pro left tackle, a Pro Bowl right tackle, and our interior is one of the best in the NFL. It's really not that. Like, I don't think the guys on the interior of the offensive line have been these standout players. But what they're doing as a unit, I think, is beautiful. In the run game, Justin, they ran duo, which is a double team man run concept where you're trying to create as many double teams as possible. You are taking care of the first level of the defense and then walking into those linebackers. You are blocking into the linebackers. The Giants, they did that 61% of the time in week 2 after only doing it once in week 1. And Carmen Porcello ran the seventh most in the NFL last year at 31%. And the Giants ran at double that rate last week. And you know what? Like, the run game wasn't awful in week 1, but it wasn't good. They were running a lot of zone and Y zone, and I don't think that fits this personnel and the way the Vikings were playing it. So the Giants, that's why I said, kill them with duo. Just duo them to death. And they did it, and they ran the ball really, really well. Just good, even like think about how like bad the Giants' rush offense has been outside of the first half of 2022. Over the last handful of years, where a 5-yard run feels great. This last week, a 5-yard run was like disappointed. Where I'm like, this wasn't as good. I'm like, oh, but it's a 5-6 yard run, and like they kept and they're gonna keep doing this, and you can build off of it. Right? So if they keep doing this, which they should and they must, if they don't, I'm going to be pissed. Well, guess what you're going to have? You're going to have linebackers crashing down towards the line of scrimmage harder. You're going to have defensive tackles working to control double teams and not just, get upfield. And you're going to get them bringing DBs in the box. We'll talk about, the stuff they're doing with the run game. And what is that going to do? That's going to open up some play action stuff. And then you can start running outside the tackles. Right? When they are coming downhill at you, that's when you can get out on the corner. And I think the Giants are going to set that up. And they're also like play calling wise, they're not running in the stacked boxes.
No.
Right? I chart every week stacked runs versus light box runs. And the Giants with Saquon, and it's not Saquon's fault, but they were just running the stacked boxes all the time. And 21 of Devin Singletary's 25 runs have been against light boxes. Right, and on
the NFL, what do I say all the time? The NFL is a matchup game, right? It's a numbers game. Do you have the numbers up front in favorable run fronts? Do you have the numbers up front to match up against the defense? If the answer is yes, I love running the ball, and it's very beneficial. You should run the ball in light boxes when you have a numbers advantage, 100%.
And they have over 4 yards per carry and a touchdown on their 5 stack box runs this year with Devin Singletary.
Which is still great too.
Over 5 yards per carry versus a light box. Like we talked about like the benefits of Carr and Brasillo because me and you did believe in them, but what I didn't believe in is Carr and Brasillo is he just makes a bad offensive line and turns them into good offensive line. What he does is has them work as a unit, right? So like Evan Neal is not magically fixed because he had time to work with Carr and Brasillo this offseason. John Michael Schmitz, like how much I love JMS coming out of the draft, was disappointed his rookie year. I'm not taking a JMS victory lap. Like I've yet to see him just go and beat guys one-on-one, but that's what the Giants offensive line is not doing. They're not forcing guys to play one-on-one. Right. Like pass protection-wise.
Are they Andrew Thomas is on an island.
Yes, Andrew Thomas and Jermaine Elamano. So this is what they're doing.
Which right? this is why I think it's Carmen Brasillo number 1, and then number 2, this is why having adequate good tackle play, there's a reason why left tackle is the second most important position in the game of football, and there's a reason why right tackle isn't too far behind it, especially when you have a right-handed quarterback. Right tackle just isn't as important as left tackle, but it's still very, very important, and this is why tackle play is so important in the NFL because I think it does make everybody else a little bit better, and instead of having a guard whose main like we were talking all offseason about how it's going to be John Runyon is going to help out Evan Neal. Well, how about we ask John Runyon to just be a good fucking football player and not having to help out Evan Neal and help out this and have tight ends that constantly are chipping to help out these tackles. Let's have offensive linemen and tackles take care of business, so then I think it makes the interior's offensive line a lot easier, right?
Absolutely, right? And pass protection-wise, like they're getting into the correct protections every single time, so there's not these missed assignments. They're getting 2 sets of hands on guys, right? Like the Commanders do things to try and create Allen and Payne to get a one-on-one, and the Giants countered that, where it's like, nope, we're doubling both of you on these plays. They're trusting their offensive tackles to do a good job. The tight ends are blocking well, which is a huge part. Right, we were talking about this pre-show, Justin, where I was like, my take of like, I don't really want a tight end if he can't block unless he's like a top 5 receiving tight end. I think 1 year of Darren Waller not being able to block reminded me why I believe that. They're building their play action off of their run concepts. It's not just random shit. They're picking up stunts. They are just like doing a really good job, man, and it's fun to watch. It's so refreshing to watch competent offensive line play. And let's look at some numbers, pass protection wise.
Oh, I have numbers on that.
The Giants.
Can I read it?
Well, let me just compare this year versus last year.
Do it.
The Giants in Week 1 last year, their O-line gave up 5 sacks, 3 QB hits, and 19 pressures. This year in their first 2 games, 2 sacks, 7 QB hits, and 8 pressures. That's 10 total less in 2 games. That's 3 sacks less in 2 games.
Yeah,
like that's insane number. That's 27 total bad plays versus 17 total bad plays. And we're talking about a difference of 2 games versus 1.
Right. And just some individual pass blocking numbers too. Andrew Thomas is 11th in overall pass blocking efficiency, and Jermaine Elamano is 30th. In true pass sets, however, our Andrew Thomas is tied for first in efficiency in true pass sets, where Jermaine is 22nd. John Runyon is 20th in pass blocking efficiency, and Greg Van Roten is 45th out of 61 guards who qualify. JMS is tied for 12th in pass blocking efficiency, and those true pass sets, he drops down to 15th. But if we're talking, I would even celebrate this, Bobby. We would have our best guard over the last couple years. If there's 61 guards who qualify, our best guard would be 45th. And not Greg Van Roten, who's...
Oh, yeah.
I'll even say this.
Greg Van Roten has not played well.
If Greg Van Roten hasn't played well, and Greg Van Roten may be our worst offensive line, I think I've noticed it for maybe 3 plays this year. Like, it's been glaring for 3 plays. Not an entire game, not an entire series. It's glaring every once in a while, but, it's not totally noticeable.
Well, and that's the thing is when that
which is a win.
Like him being their worst one is a huge win.
It's a win.
He's given up 2 quarterback hits and 6 pressures in 2 games, right? And again, here's the thing: they're not having quick losses. When they do lose, they are not quick. So they're like some of their losses have been on plays where Daniel Jones is throwing the ball 30, 40 yards down the field. So they're just working together well as a unit. And the run game, they're taking care of the first level. They're leaning on guys, and they're just getting into the right protections every time. Yep. Whether that's JMS and Bursillo being on the same page of what they want, it's been really enjoyable to watch. Now Cleveland's going to give them a test. Like I don't think any other team in the NFL can give them a test. I really don't think another team in the NFL can test them more than what Cleveland's going to do, especially on the schedule. So if they can even look slightly below average versus Cleveland, I feel like that's another dub.
Right. They were 5th in the NFL in rushing yards per play this week at 5.9. They're 19th in rushing EPA per play, which that's a win. Last year, I think,
and they're not getting a lot of QB rushing yards either.
No. So I consider it's a win, and something that we talked about over the summers. We saw kind of the early developments of this is going to be an offensive line that's going to work together. They moved well together in training camp. We saw a lot of those double teams and duo. We saw a lot of that over the summer. So the fact that at least it translated in week 2 is a really good sign, and it's even making Devin Singletary look really good too, and allowing Devin Singletary to do some good stuff, which we have a question on him later. There's some fun stats on him, and we'll even talk about that later.
Absolutely. All right, Justin, next question.
Here's my last note. My last note on the offensive line. It's a shame that we just spent the first 10 minutes, the last 10 minutes of the show talking about the offensive line. I had a thought Monday morning. It's a shame that this is the best offensive line that we've seen, and it's going to be a footnote. It's going to wind up being it's going to wind up being a footnote on this season. The best offensive line that the Giants have had in like a decade. There's a chance it could just be a footnote, and that sucks.
It won't be the footnote on the O-line report because the O-line reports are back, baby.
They're back, baby, and you want to know what's back? Anthony Isidori is asking me to read an ad. My good friend Anthony, and oh boy.
Wait, you got to read his thing.
Oh, his okay. His
You're supposed to say next question, Ant.
Just read the ad already.
You ruined it.
Sorry.
Justin ruined it. All right, read the ad already.
Anthony Isidori. He wants me to talk about Mountain Dew. You know what we all need to get more of? Off our ass, baby. Oh, BB5 is tomorrow. Bobby's favorite thing, Blitzball Battle 5.
I love Blitzball
You're
Battle
going to
5.
be in Blitzball Battle 6. Mountain Dew is a big sponsor of that. And guess what? It's going to be 9 a.m. It's going to be 1 p.m. It's going to be 3 p.m. There's going to be games going on all day during the warehouse. And I'm gonna be off my ass. I'm on my ass right now. I'm gonna be off my ass. I'm gonna be an umpire. I'm gonna lay down the law, and I'm gonna have Mountain Dew to literally get me through the entire day. Other blitzball battles when I'm an umpire, I'm just standing there. I'm doing nothing. I don't have anything refreshing. I don't have a refreshing citrus kick to help me get through the day. I'm gonna have Mountain Dew, and Mountain Dew, it's like one of my dream products. I love Mountain Dew. I watched Dale Jr. growing up. Mountain Dew was on his car. I love Dale Jr.
I have a Dale Jr. Mountain Dew car.
I have probably multiple. So I love Mountain Dew. Thank you to Mountain Dew. It's going to have me feeling like I'm on an actual mountain where the weather is perfect, your friends are ready to hang, and a day of epic proportions awaits tomorrow at the warehouse. The mountain is calling. You should answer. Grab your friends, grab an ice cold Mountain Dew wherever refreshing beverages are sold, and do the do. You'll be glad you did.
You'll be glad you did. Next question.
Next question is coming from Stanley Roper at Bob_Dobe Alania. That's not how you say it. Dobalina, 85. That's how you say it. Did the linebackers struggle last game, or was it the D-line? Seems a bit of both. What's the quickest way Bowen can adjust and alleviate some of these huge run plays?
Well, now it's time to talk about the Shane Bowen defense, which is not fun to talk about. He asked whether it was more the linebackers or the D-line.
Yeah.
Well, I think you forgot about the DBs because they're a big issue in this too. I mean, the Giants' run defense has been really bad. Right? You know, when Shane Bowen came, it's like, look, his run defenses are top 16 every year. And then I did my film streams of him, and I was like, I just don't know if the Giants have the dogs on this front to win in the run game the way that they do. And right now they're 28th in total rushing defense, 29th in yards per carry. They are bad on the front level. They're really bad on the back level, and they're mid in the middle level. The linebackers, right? The D line's bad. The secondary's awful, and then the linebackers are all right. And we'll start with like the linebacker. Like Bobby Okereke played in a scheme like this in Indy, and he was really good, but he didn't play like a madman in the run game in Indy. Getting downhill and taking on blocks. So that's not the strength of his game. But also, I think Okereke mentioned last year where took him a little bit to trust the scheme fully. I'm not worried about Okereke at all. He hasn't looked bad. He just hasn't looked like the playmaker that he did last year. McFadden has had some bad moments, but I think he's played overall above average and in the run defense. The issue is the D-line and the DBs. The edges are aligning wide. They're not setting the edge at all. Right? They're not setting it with force. The D linemen not named Dexter Lawrence are getting dominated.
And whenever Dexter Lawrence is off the field, I feel like it's an automatic 10-plus yard run.
It's just easy for them, right? They just, all right, we're going to double team this D lineman. We're going to move him where we want, and now we're going to get to the second level. Right? We talk about the linebackers. It's hard for the linebackers to play well when they can just control the defensive line with exactly how they want. Yeah. And then the DBs are awful. Really, their only two good run defending DBs right now are Tyler Nubin and Andrew Phillips. They're rookies.
Yeah.
Right? Like Pinnock has been like kind of a net neutral in it, but like basically Flott, Adoree Jackson, and Deontay Banks have been awful. They've screwed themselves. It's also the structure of it, right? I talk about the wide edges. Well, let's talk about light boxes. They're playing from light boxes 67% of the time.
Yeah.
And there's like plays where I'm getting mad at Micah McFadden or Deontay Banks for not filling the right way. But then I'm like looking at myself like, okay, but this was still a 5-yard run. Even if they fit this perfectly, this is a 5-yard run. So it's the structure of it. It's the guys not being great run defenders. And it's something I've talked about for a long time, man. DBs are a huge part of your run defense.
Huge.
If you're not drafting DBs, looking at their run defense and having that being a huge part of what they are, they better be fucking Sauce Gardner out there, or else they're not worth drafting. And they've been a huge part of it. The D line has been awful. I don't know what this is like. You know how like there was excitement for Elijah Chapman and camp, Justin, right? And I was happy for him individually, but like I was not. I was like, this sucks. This sucks that Elijah Chapman's going to get playing time for this defense. This guy wasn't some dominant defensive lineman in college. He's undersized. DJ Davidson, who looks like a better pass rusher than as a run defender.
I mean, in all fairness to Elijah Chapman, it's not Elijah Chapman's fault. Jordan, I mean, I'm watching. You're watching Cowboys film, and the Cowboys just got their ass kicked by the Saints, and it's because they have no interior defensive lineman depth and no linebacker depth. Jordan Phillips is getting moved in Dallas too. They refuse to acknowledge interior defensive linemen too this offseason. They refuse to acknowledge it.
It went from a strength for a lot of years to a weakness in 2022, back to a strength last year with Nacho or with the Leonard Williams and then Ashawn Robinson, and then Nacho was the fourth guy, and then now it's as weak as it's ever been. But it's a lot of it is the defensive structure too. You can't play from light boxes 67% of the time. Have Kayvon and Brian Burns be the edges that you have out there. Have your D line be awful outside of Dexter Lawrence, and then have your corners not be good at it. Yeah. Right? Like they're the two. You know how Brian Robinson Jr. had the two longest runs of his career? You know who was to blame on both those runs? Deontay Banks and Cordell Flott.
Yeah,
but I don't blame them because they shouldn't be put in that situation.
I mean, Cordell Flott and that play and the
Flott one was awful.
The Flott one was awful. Where that's when Brian Robinson disappears into the mass amount of human beings, and then boom, he emerges, and it's like, well, how did he just disappear and levitate from one spot to the
plays
next?
Bad on
it's
that.
Because Cordell Flott tries to go in and punch the football out instead of wrapping Brian Robinson up and trying to slow him down, and then Robinson just runs away. So it's not good, man. I mean, I have some stats here. according to Next Gen, and I kind of just want to go through the categories and see if I can find one good stat. And I am going to tell you, there's actually one stat that the Giants are decent in, but I'm going to tell you why it's bad. So rushing yards per play, they're 4th worst. 10-plus yards run allowed, they're 2nd. Colts have allowed 15, Giants 13, Jets 11. I mean, we saw the Jets on national television allow a lot of runs, and then the Titans, which don't have a great offensive line. So the Giants are 13.
The Jets have played really good run rushing units too.
Yeah. So it's 13 runs of 10-plus yards that the Giants have allowed. Now, the team's stuff rate, the amount of the rate of runs that are stuffed at the line of scrimmage, the Giants are middle of the pack. They're 18th. But why I think they're getting killed in yards per play, why I think they're getting killed in EPA per rush, which they're 7th highest, it's because they're allowing the explosive runs. Yards after contact per attempt, the Giants are 2nd highest in the NFL. We're not tackling well. We're having runs that we're initially making contact with the guy at 1 to 2 yards, and it's turning into 4 or 5 yard gains. And then Bobby mentioned the light boxes, stacked boxes stat. He mentioned 67% of the time. He charted it himself. Next Gen has it at 73.8%, and that's the second highest rate of a light box in the NFL. 2nd highest. So it's not good, man. When you have edge rushers that are supposed to be doing a better job at setting the edge, and you have interior defense alignment depth that you struggle with, and I mean also, like, I don't think Washington was spreading it out. I'm sure, I don't have stats behind this, but I'm sure, like, the identity of their team is 12 personnel, like, because they have 2 tight ends that they like and they believe in. Why, if they're going out there in 12, and if they're going out there in some tighter formations or shit like that, I don't know why. And also, it's Jaden Daniels. He wasn't going to kill you deep down the field. Why are you not stacking the box?
Yeah. It was brutal.
It's not like you're facing Josh Allen.
Again, it's one thing if that's your identity, but like against the Commanders, you should be stacking the box. I don't get it.
So especially when you're bad against the run. Like, all right, let's make an adjustment. And no adjustments were.
Yeah, there's gonna, like, if Shane Bowen doesn't make adjustments, he's just a flat up bad defensive coordinator.
Yeah. Sucks.
Next question.
That's what I have on that. Next question. It's coming from Brian Quigley at BP Quigs. In this defensive scheme, we continue to get limited edge play. Is there any hope for this season? Young, not great secondary, and an offense that doesn't light up the scoreboard seems like a bad combo with no pass rush. So, Bobby, I guess we talked about the run defense. Let's talk about the pass defense.
Yeah, just defense overall. And just talking about I have not enjoyed watching this defense at all in the first 2 weeks. And it's not even like, oh, well, what's the philosophy of it, man? There's just, like, me, Jess, I nerd out of, like, great defensive disguises.
You love schematics. I think schematics and talking schematics is your most favorite part about football.
A great disguise on defense, man, is beautiful, and they're not there, right? Even if you hated the way Patrick Graham, like, called a defense, you would see, like, man, this is good shit right here. This is why the Giants are getting all these interceptions. Like, what is the advantage of this Giants defense? Like, they play in crazy soft zones. Like, crazy soft zones. Like, I'm talking, it happened all game, and the Commanders threw the ball behind the line of scrimmage. It drove me nuts when Jaden Daniels, for the first time all game, really made a big boy read and threw that ball to Noah Brown. Right? Made a big boy read, made that. All right, let's stop them. Let's keep them out of field goal range. The next play, they're lining 10 yards off. They throw a screen, and now they're in field goal range. Right? So it's just playing off coverage. There's not much candy to bait the quarterbacks outside of just rolling the safety down, which is pretty basic. They don't blitz very much outside of a handful of times, Justin. The edges are not dominating, and then you'll get the film people who, I am one of them, who'll go like, hey, Brian Burns isn't playing awful. He's not playing awful. He's getting chipped every play. But guess what? Like, do something to avoid that. Good defensive coordinators, if we're dependent on Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau winning quickly, this off coverage, zone coverage doesn't work well with that. If you're relying on your rush,
you need to give your edge rushers time to get back there. And if you're playing soft, then you're allowing stuff underneath.
And do things with your front to get those guys one-on-ones. When you're rushing 4, like, I feel like they've rushed 3 more than they did 5 this last week. Like, yeah, they're going to be able to get hands on them. And that's part of the issue with Brian Burns, as good as a rusher he is. If you do chip and get and give help because he doesn't play with natural strength. His power rushes come from speed to power. That if you do get give a chip, it does limit what he does as a rusher. So you're not doing anything out of that. And whether you think Kayvon and Burns are playing well or not, here's something: they're not producing. And you want to blame the defensive scheme, you want to blame those guys, pick whatever you want. But Kayvon is 41st and Brian Burns is 46th in pass rush production out of 51 edge rushers. Out of 51, they're 41st and 46th. Why? Why is that? Now, they're 29th and 30th in pass rush win rate, so better than that. So that speaks a little bit to the scheme of Shane Bowen, but also I think those guys just need to play better. And they're just – I hate to use the word bland because it's like a radio – casual, I just need something to blame talking point, but it is a extremely bland defense that allows teams to run on them. It allows teams to work quick passes, and it doesn't really pressure the quarterback at all.
I'll go back. I mean, it comes down to this, man, and it's a commander specific talking point. Why are we giving receivers cushion at the line when we're playing Jane Daniels, when we're playing an offense that, number one, is running a lot of screens, and number two, an offense that was just so disinterested in throwing the ball down the field? Are we that afraid of the secondary? Is the front office, is the defensive coaching staff, are we that afraid of this secondary that we can't trust them to play, not even press, but just play closer up to the line? This Washington offense was disinterested in throwing the ball down the field. They were not going to get big plays by throwing the ball down the field. It just wasn't going to happen. So I that's what it comes down to for me. Against such a...
They're doubling number one wide receivers when the rest of the DBs are like, you got to trust Banks one-on-one a little more often, even though he hasn't been great. Like, it's like, if you ask me what the identity of this defense is,
I can't tell you.
It's making sure the number one wide receiver doesn't beat you.
Okay.
And letting everybody else beat you. Yep. Like that, sick. Through 2 games, Terry McLaurin and Justin Jefferson really haven't done gotten a lot of volume. Even though Justin Jefferson had big plays, McLaurin had a couple of nice conversions. And the other identities are getting gashed in the run game and just giving up quick, short gains.
It's the explosive run plays that are the killers. I mean, it's the killer. You can't have it. Can't have it. It's like I almost don't even have a full read on the secondary. Cordell Flott's had some bad plays. Adoree Jackson has had some bad plays. I don't know what an answer is at CB2, by the way. Do we have a question on like what's your opinion on CB2?
Adoree Jackson's just got to play.
I mean, but still, like he wasn't targeted, but he had a bad play where he got beat on a double move this weekend.
Oh, in his fairness, because I know what play you're talking about, and I put that play in the film review. I think I might have forgot to talk about that was a blitz that was supposed to get home and get the ball out quick. I think he was kind of betting on the blitz getting there, and it did, and biting on that. But he did get you can't lose like that either. So,
regardless,
I'm not going to
football. Football is a simple game, and every NFL team wants to run the ball. There's very few of them that, like the Cincinnati Bengals, that are just going to throw the ball no matter what. Every team. They want to run the ball, and if they can, they will run it at will. And until the Giants stop allowing these explosive runs on a routine basis, then it almost doesn't even matter. If Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, if these guys are getting home, if they're allowing these runs of 10+ yards at a top 5 rate, this is going to be a bad defense until they get that fixed.
Absolutely. They don't have the personnel to run this type of defense.
No.
Even if you do have the personnel, I don't love this defense anyways. All right, Justin, next question.
Sean Sullivan at Sully Stone 7. Hey, do we have a kicker? Or do we need to just read another ad? We do need to just read another ad. When I put this one in there, the Giants did sign kicker Greg Joseph after this was put in there. He's 82% over the last 3 years. Beat the Giants on a 62-yarder against with the Vikings 2 years ago. Then we beat them in the playoffs, if you don't remember, Justin. And here's my fun fact. The last Giants kicker, that the Giants signed, who beat them on a 60+ yarder, Graham Gano. Wow, that's worked out pretty well until recently. So I got hope for Greg Joseph. TD Tutty
We don't want field goal kickers on the field, though, because we want touchdowns.
Yeah, DraftKings is the home for touchdowns.
We want them there for
on.
extra points.
Yes.
Taking it to the house, whatever you call a touchdown, they matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner or sportsbook partner of the NFL. Right now, all new customers who bet just $5 will instantly get $250 in bonus bets plus 1 month of NFL Plus Premium. Now, that's something we can all celebrate. Also, we were just at an upfront event where you go and talk with advertisers. Mm-hmm. Justin, we were talking with the DraftKings people, and I brought up my idea from a couple of years ago of us doing a live stream from the DraftKings suite in MetLife Stadium. I think you guys need to go bully DraftKings into making this happen. We love you, DraftKings. That's $250 in bonus bets instantly and 1 month of NFL Plus Premium after betting just $5. Stay in on the action and use your $250 in bonus bets to bet anytime touchdowns on DraftKings, which is the place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use promo code WORLD and bet just $5 on any wager and get $250 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code WORLD only at DraftKings Sportsbook. You'll be glad you did.
You'll be glad you did.
Next question.
Next question is coming from Brian Porras at BPorras1. Is it me, or have we seen enough Devin Singletary production so that opposing defenses won't be able to laugh at a play action attempt like last year?
So right now the Giants aren't running a lot of play action, and they're not doing it very good. Daniel Jones is 18th of 33 QBs in play action dropback rate. He's 25th of those guys in yards per attempt. He's 28th in completion rate. So the play action game has not been used a lot and not very well. If the Giants continue to run like they did versus the Commanders, they're not going to have fucking 9 yards per carry every single week. But really leaning on teams, I do think the Giants are going to get back to using play action a lot and using it successfully like they did in 2022. Because like I mentioned before, the Giants, 21 of Singletary's 26 rushes have been against light boxes. That will not continue, right? And when you get stacked boxes, it gives you more space to do that play action. It's also it's natural that if teams are going to be playing the run a little more and playing that, they're going to get sucked up a little more, which is going to be more space behind them. I think the Giants will look to get, because I don't think Jones is going to operate just straight drop back, read leverage, push the ball down the field, and Dable's going to want to push the ball down the field. I think their explosives are going to be out of play action. So yes, it'll be interesting to see, how quick it happens. But I do think more use of play action and better efficiency in play action is coming eventually. It just but Singletary has played good, right? Like the O-line's doing their job. He's making the guy he's responsible for miss. I know you have some numbers on that. So Singletary's look good, but I do think the play action game, I don't know when it's going to start being used more and better, but I do think it's coming.
They are 9th in overall play action rate, which at 25%, which honestly, I thought it would be.
He's 18th of 33 QBs in play action dropback rate.
I thought it would be higher to start the year, just because they did it so much during the preseason, and I thought that was going to be a stay. I'm glad that they're not spamming it. You shouldn't spam it. We saw what happened in 2022 when you spam.
You can spam it when teams adjust. You adjust back off of it.
Right.
Saints are spamming it, and I love it.
They are spamming it. They are number one. They're 45.2% play action rate right now. How do you like that?
I love the Saints.
I love the Saints. Do you want to talk about Devin Singletary? How he's looked good?
Yeah.
Devin Singletary has looked very, very good. Here's some numbers for you. You like this? Devin Singletary has forced the most missed tackles per touch in the NFL so far this year. You want to know who has forced the least amount of missed tackles per touch in the NFL so far this year?
Don't say it.
Saquon Barkley, because it's true. And then also, Devin Singletary has been good in efficiency as well. And efficiency, according to Next Gen, measures your ability to be a north-south runner. Devin Singletary is 9th in efficiency, according to Next Gen, out of all running backs, which is very, very good. I've been happy with Devin Singletary. His one cuts have been fun. And I did say it on Sunday, in all seriousness, this was a legit critique I had of Saquon Barkley as the years have gone on. I do not feel like he was able to break tackles at the same way in 2018 and 2019. Do I think this Devin Singletary is the best person at breaking tackles in the NFL through the first 2 weeks of the NFL season is going to continue? No, I don't think he's the best running back in the NFL doing that.
But he's been pretty good at it.
But he's been good at it, and his
entire career he's been able to do it.
So let's keep it up. Devin Singletary early impressions, 2 thumbs up for me.
Hey, and it's a lot easier to make guys miss when the offensive line is doing their job,
Yes.
and then you have I broke down a couple of runs on, the O-line report and the film review, and the line is, hey, the offensive line is responsible for, and tight ends are responsible for these 7 guys. You're responsible for him. You make him miss. Like, that's how you draw it up on a whiteboard. And whenever you draw up a run play, because the quarterback's not blocking and the running back's running, there's going to be someone that's not blocked. You're responsible for those guys, and Singletary's done a good job of winning those, right? That's how they got the 24-yard run instead of an 8-yard run. The touchdown run, right? It was blocked great, but if Singletary doesn't make a guy miss, it's a 4-yard run instead of a 7-yard touchdown run. So Singletary's looked good. I loved his home run celebration on an homage to fellow FAU legend Alfred Morris. People who listen to Talking Giants in 2020 know the Alfredites are better than the Gallmanites. Devin Singletary has been good, Justin.
Devin Singletary has been good.
How about that?
Do you think they should lean more into a run-heavy team? Lean more into it?
Yes, until teams start stacking the box. Especially when you're playing like this week. Like you know me, Justin. Like, I can put together a path to victory. The fucking Browns defense, dude. Like, I don't know if I ever want to pass against them.
Let's check.
I don't want to run against them either, but I definitely. All right. Yes, I do. I do think they should until teams start playing them differently.
Browns defense is not that great against the run so far this year.
But think about 2022, Justin. Right? We've been pretty good at calling this part in camp. Is like run the damn ball. We have T-shirts of "Run the Damn Ball" 2022.
We do. Go buy them.
Right? And then defenses started really adjusting. And we were like, stop running the damn ball. Stop play actioning like teams are doing this, and throw the ball. Work drop back passing game. It worked, right? So right now, yes. If teams start stacking the box and throwing a bunch of different run fits at you, then get away from it. But until that happens, yes, run the ball. And that's one thing Dable has been best about him, just as an offensive mind, is his ability to adjust to the way defenses have played him.
Right.
Hopefully that was more him than Kafka, because Dable's the play caller now.
Are you ready for the next question?
Next question.
Next question is coming from Nooner at One Giant Nooner. After last week's offensive performance, do you feel more confident that they will be able to compete with the teams in the upcoming few games? I mean, Bobby, for me, it's a no, because I understand what the efficiency numbers say. Like, I looked at week 2. The Giants were 6th in the NFL in EPA per play during week 2. I'm sorry, it still only resulted in 18 points. I understand they barely had the football, and that's FU defense. Resulted in 18 points, and it still resulted less than 200 passing yards. This is one scenario where you're like, oh, Justin, you believe in these advanced numbers. And the advanced numbers said that the Giants had a top 6 offense in week 2, and you're still not believing in it. It's Against the Commanders, I'm sorry. I need to see some of those box score stats against the Commanders. I need to be creeping towards 30 points. I need to be getting over 225 passing yards against the Commanders. And I just think there's that much of a talent discrepancy between the Commanders defense, the Commanders secondary, and then the secondaries and the defenses that we have coming up, like the Cleveland Browns, like the Dallas Cowboys, like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Some of those defenses that we have coming up are very, very different.
Absolutely. Like, the Commanders are just a bad defense. I don't understand why they play the way they do. So, like, we talked about it on the preview pod, because it was pretty grim on Jones going into this game, and I was like, I don't have this faith in DJ, but I was like, I feel like he can just hit guys in man coverage against the Commanders.
And he did.
They run a lot of man coverage, and they're bad. What I didn't see is a lot of great post-snap processing. In fact, you saw some bad in there. In the very few times where they did run zone or run different types of coverages, that's where you saw the issues of it. Like, the large majority of the good plays were just simply Neighbors and Slayton winning versus their guys.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you think of the big plays, like, their 2 biggest plays on offense were drive routes, which are 1-2 yards and then just straight down the line. Like, if a quarterback has got time, he better be able to hit them, especially the way Malik Neighbors was open. Yeah. So, no, this doesn't give me any, like, long-standing, like, confidence in it. What it did is, like, okay, at least he can hit throws within 20 yards. He was still 0 for 4 on the 20-plus yard throws. They ran, like, I think 10 or more just conversion routes on the outside, where it's like, if they're playing off, run a curl on the outside. If they're not, run a go. And they had a lot of success versus that. So what I do have hope for, belief in this offense, is, the run game like we talked about. I think Malik Neighbors is clearly going to get 1,000 yards this year. But I got to see more from Daniel Jones, not for talking about his future, just to get through this season and view him as the Jacoby Brissett type of quarterback where it's he's a good bridge starter type guy.
Yeah, here's what I have confidence in. I have confidence in hopefully Brian Dable continuing to scheme up scenarios and situations where Malik Neighbors is getting yards after the catch.
They've gotten rid of concepts that DJ is comfortable with. I know they ran that mesh traffic, Justin. Mesh has been this team's go-to third down play call for 2 years. Successfully, they haven't ran it one time. Not one time.
They didn't run it.
They ran the mesh traffic on the 2-point conversion.
That's
that wasn't even really true of mesh. Because it wasn't. Mesh is the 2 drive routes crossing. They just put 3 drive and crossers from one side to create the Tyrone Tracy to get open, which he didn't do.
It didn't work. Yeah.
They haven't run that one single time. That when I go through my film review, it's mesh whip, all the variations. They haven't run it one single time.
Yeah. So I feel confident in Malik Neighbors maybe getting open, getting separation. I feel confident that the offensive line is giving Daniel Jones a pocket to throw in on third down or for some of these long developing throws, which is really nice. That touchdown is a sort of kind of long developing throw where there's guys that, you're running in that tight formation, that condensed formation on the left-hand side. There are receivers that are running their routes to one side to try and clear space for Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors doesn't move at the snap of the ball. He kind of does a little hesitation. Then he moves. He kind of jogs and finds space. Touchdown. It's kind of a longer developing play. The third down plays to Wan'Dale Robinson. We've seen that a couple times. That's kind of a longer, some of those guys are longer developing plays. So I feel confident in that. But in terms of consistency and diversity of plays that work, I don't know if those hitch plays, even though I love them, when you have corners that are playing in cushion, those hitch plays, those long hitch plays on the sideline to Slayton and Neighbors, I think you're going to have corners that are going to be better, and you're going to have corners that are going to be more aggressive and try and pounce on that stuff.
Yeah, the Commanders' corners suck.
So I don't know if that's going to be there every week. I don't know if that's going to be there every week. It may be there every once in a while, which is great, which you need to take that when it's there, but it may not be there every single week, and that sucks.
Yeah, you got to see it against a team that's not the Commanders because they have possibly the worst corners in the NFL, and they put them in just man coverage.
Yeah.
So it's easy pickings for Malik Neighbors and Darius Slayton out there.
Right.
Next question.
Next question is coming from Matthew Lang. And I'm writing down the timestamp. And there's the timestamp. Matthew Lang. Despite DJ being 0 for 4 on deep passes against a Washington man defense, do you think it was a mistake not to have any plays where Slayton or Hyatt was used for their speed to outrun man defense on any shots? And I'll answer this question quick. You know what? They didn't have a lot of plays to run with it. It's unfortunate. But against this Washington defense, I am going to say, yes, I do think it was a mistake. I would have maybe liked to see a more aggressive defense where we're allowing Neighbors, Slayton, or especially Hyatt to try and just win.
And they did. And now here's the thing is those plays are, at least versus Washington, were kind of predetermined for Malik Neighbors because if Jones was just flat out reading the middle field safety, he probably would have went to Slayton on a couple times, but they want to get Neighbors involved in that play, and I understand that, and they had the ability. It wasn't like the safety was getting to the sideline. It was more Jones just keeping him honest. So Slayton could get the. This is where me, I wasn't Hyatt needs to play for development, but Hyatt does fucking run past people, and if teams are going to start even with Jones, let me talk through this.
Talk through it.
So they ran some max protect double go versus single high safety, right? So they're man on the outside and they have the one safety. And Jones would be straight up staring at Darius Slayton, staring at him, right? With the intention to turn his head and throw to Malik Neighbors, staring at him. And the safety is not fucking moving off of the hash that Neighbors is on, right? Being I'm not letting Neighbors get over the top of me. And then they would throw the Neighbors and Jones was just inaccurate on those throws. If they're going to play like that, then Jalen Hyatt should be, again, I'm not calling for Jalen Hyatt to get a ton of snaps, but Jalen Hyatt should be in on those opportunities because he can just flat out run past guys. So, Yes, I do want Jalen Hyatt more involved in what he's been. It does feel a little personal on why he's not been involved. I don't want him as the starter. I don't want him taking 45% of the snaps, but I do want him more involved in the game plan. And I think he deserves that. I think he's shown enough to be involved in the game plan, which he really has not been at all the first 2 weeks of the season.
I agree with that. I mean, he should be part of plays.
And plays that are like not designed where it's like this, but like designed with him as like the one or first or second option. And again, it can just be simply him running down the field. And if you're going to run those conversion routes, if there's one route outside of the go ball that Hyatt's good at, it's the conversion route because teams' defenses respect him so much down the field.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'd like to see Hyatt a little more involved than what he's been, even though I will not call for him to be the starter in the name of fucking development.
But it feels
drives
personal.
Me nuts.
It does feel personal, and I would love for beat reporters. I know we have some of you.
They hammered them every chance they get to talk about Hyatt.
But I mean, this is going to be one of those things where we're not going to find out this answer during a press conference. This is going to be, we're going to have to get on the phone. We're going to have to talk to our favorite source in our favorite building inside the building to somebody to get.
Got to talk to your favorite building
to spill the beans. Did I say talk to your building? Is that what I said?
What's your favorite building? Mine's the John Boy Media office.
Good answer. I love Chuck E. Cheese. Yeah, but beat reporters. Let's. I would love to get an exclusive. Like, I heard this is going on with
I'd love for them
with
to do
Jalen
their
Hyatt.
job.
That's what I would like, because I think it's personal. It's got to be personal. You don't go from. He was the starter in training camp for the vast majority of all the practices that we were there. He was the starter, and then we go away and. Then he's finally taking second team reps, and that was the first time all summer that Slayton.
It was after the Texans game where some issues started to pop up.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I don't believe that all summer, the vast majority of the training camp practices that we were there before like real preseason games, where Jalen Hyatt is the starter on the team, and now like suddenly something happened where he is just forget in a rotation. He's just not involved. He's not part of this offense right now.
Right.
So something had to happen.
Yep. All right, next question.
Next question is coming from Michael at AP Skirbo. Would the Costco guys give this ad a big boom or a big doom? And oh boy, if you're not giving Captain Morgan a boom, then you're crazy.
We're Captain Morgan guys.
We're Captain Morgan guys. This mailbag is brought to you by Captain Morgan. We're Captain Morgan guys. Of course we know that Captain Morgan is the official.
Boom!
Of course we know that Captain Morgan is the official Spice Rum sponsor of the NFL. We're Captain Morgan guys. Of course we need to spice things up.
Double shot, Captain Morgan.
All right, we need to stop.
If people are listening this late in the episode, we're allowed to do whatever we want.
When life gets bland, try Captain Morgan Original Spice Rum, and when life gets bland, try acting like you're the Costco guys for the entire day. And just say, we're the guys, we're this thing. It's delicious and crisp and perfect for game day with friends. Spice it up. Visit CaptainMorgan.com to find Captain near you. Please drink responsibly. Captain Morgan Original Spice Rum, 35% alcohol by volume. Captain Morgan Rum Company in New York, New York. Boom! You'll be glad you did.
If you don't drink responsibility, you get a big doom.
That's good. That's good.
We'll hurt you.
That's really good. Are we going to move on to our last question?
Yeah, next question. Oh, by the way, there was a lot of good ad integration mailbag questions this week. So if yours didn't get picked, copy and paste, because there was ones I felt bad leaving out because I was like, this is actually pretty good.
Next question.
Boom!
Dominic Capalupo. I said it right. Capalupo. At DomCaps11. Going to be making my first appearance at a Talking Giants tailgate next Thursday. What should I expect?
Big Justice and AJ.
You should expect a lot of boom. No. It's going to be.
They
Kane.
should come to one.
I want to ask them to come to the office. It's I'm getting a little too obsessed. I love those guys. Yeah. So Talking Giants L16. Our tickets, the tickets are live right now. They are in the description of this episode.
We're tailgate guys.
We're tailgate guys. Of course we tailgate in L16 on the curb. That's where we're going to be. L16 on the curb. The Candlewick Diner is going to be catering. There's going to be Corona. There's going to be a lot of Corona. There's going to be some 5-hour energy. They're going to be both sponsoring the tailgate. So if you like any of that, please come hang out. Tickets are $25, which I thought $50 was a steal. I think we're keeping it at 25 and 25. I mean, if $25 for alcohol, food, and a great time. I mean, there's no reason for
That's a great deal.
I'm serious. Even if you have like a tailgate, you should just come because to get a free meal, like even if you have another
It's
tailgate,
not free.
well, it's basically free. Alcohol,
Sure, but
food,
there's not free. It's a great deal, but it's not free.
It's basically free. It's basically free. And it's going to be a great time.
Yeah.
L16 on the curb. We're going to have a great time. Tickets are in the description.
I'm jealous that I won't get to be there for this next one.
I'm telling you, the tailgate is the best part of the game
Oh, yeah.
because the Giants stink.
The tailgate gets a big boom. The game gets a big doom. All right, Justin, that's an episode. We will see you guys on Friday with the preview pod of the Cleveland Browns game. How about that? Everyone that's going to Cleveland, I'm sorry. We'll see you then. Until then, let's go Big Blue.